Alex's Car Talk. It's Alex and Matt, and we're going to be getting into today's video. What we're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about what to look for when you're buying a car. What are the basic things, what not to look for, what to look for, what kind of car you're interested in, and how to tell if you are interested in that car.
Yeah, I like that. That's exactly what we're talking about. We're going to talk about different services that you can use to look for a car.
Oh, yeah.
Different thought process to have when you're looking for a car. Obviously, there's some important things you want to do before you start looking for a car, and even some things you want to do after you're looking for a car. So we're going to start off maybe by talking about some like the main platforms that is a good start to start looking for your car, or even actually, you know what? Let's actually start with like the things you should go into like looking for a car with, like the things you should be thinking about.
Okay.
So yeah, so I mean, first I think that one of the most important things you should be thinking about when you're buying a car or looking to buy a car is obviously what you're buying that car for. So if you're looking for like a family car, like that you're gonna be using to just like haul your kids around or whatever, or if you're looking for like more of a sports car and stuff like that, right? So like Alex, do you want to talk about like the process of like looking for some of the cars that you've bought or anything like that?
Yeah, of course. So when you're looking into more of a family car, I'll just put it in like just a normal daily. You're looking for something that's pretty reliable, that's going to last you a long time. You're looking for something probably newer with a little bit more safety features, stuff like that. So just in case you get into an accident or helping you park or just basic things like that. You're probably going to look for it to be all-wheel drive so it can handle all the seasons. Front-wheel drive's fine, and rear-wheel drive is kind of a little bit more to have fun. When I'm looking into like cars that I'm more interested in looking into how they look and then how they perform, and so that's a lot different than looking for like just a normal daily.
Right, yeah, so like you said, like reliability is usually like one of the biggest things you're gonna want to look for if you're just driving it on a daily basis. Things like, you know, your classic like Toyota Camry,
Yep.
like Honda Civic, things
Prius.
like that. Right, Priuses, things that are just like literally you can just drive into the ground and they're just never gonna die. For the
Same
most
thing
part.
like my Volvo. I
Right.
don't know how this thing's not dead, but
Right, so like things like that, that's definitely like where you want to start in terms of daily driver. Just like, does it have the features you want? Like if you want these specific like features, like if you care about parking assist or like specific things like that, like the nitty gritty, but most like important is usually reliability. Like, is that car going to start every single time you want to drive it, you know?
Yeah.
And in terms of like moving up from that, if you're looking for a car that's kind of a compromise, like, you know, you also want it to be a little bit more sporty, but also to be able to drive it on a daily basis. Lots of good, like, you know, alternatives for things like that, you know, such as like BMWs, WRXs are one of the most famous, like things like that, you know.
Yeah. So then I guess after that you're looking into like horsepower range. There's like a certain range for like if you're anywhere for 200 to 300, that's normal. That's probably what everyone gets. That's how you get your dailies. That's how you drive around. And then when
300 horsepower daily would be pretty solid.
well, that would
Yeah,
be
I was say 200 to 300.
200. Okay.
I was like, damn, like
150 to 250.
Yeah, I would say
we
that's
can throw
right,
it there.
right,
and then
right.
anything over that, like if you go from like 250 to 350,
Yeah, I was
that's
gonna
kind of
say,
like your
that's-
quicker range.
Yeah, that's your sports car
Anything
range.
above 350,
That's
I don't know what you're gonna do with it. I mean,
right. Yeah,
of course,
that's your performance level.
yeah, that's
like,
your performance level,
right.
which is a pretty low. It is a pretty low bar to set. Shut up.
350.
350. Let's saying like for performance.
Okay.
Like if you think about it, because I mean, you're rocking what?
Well, I mean, I think that I think it also that's another important thing. Is it obviously depends on what car you're talking about, because like
This is true. Yeah, that's
right.
true.
Like if you're buying a Camry or something like that comes with like, you know, 100 something horsepower.
Yeah.
Some of the higher end models coming with like mid 200s. That horsepower is going to get put to the ground in a very different way than
That's
it would be in like a Corvette or something like that, where if you have 500 horsepower, it's going to be put to the ground, you know, with a lot more torque.
Yeah, a lot more.
And same thing with electric, like with Alex's new electric car, like obviously the horsepower in that car is going to be put to the ground like immediately, because it's, you know, it's 100%
Yeah.
torque with the electric. So in terms of like moving up from that like crossover level of like, you know, maybe I want to dabble in like have it be a little bit sportier than just like a daily driver or whatever, then you want to start looking for like your sports car level. Like this is maybe going to be your second car that you already have a daily driver, but you want something more sporty that you can drive, like, you know, for more fun. Now, in terms of looking for a sportier car, you want to be much more careful in terms of what you're looking for. You want to look for, if you're buying a used car, you don't want to buy a car that was already destroyed and like run into the ground. So you don't want to really buy a high mileage sports car, because, you know, that means someone probably already drove it pretty hard for a long time. That means you're going to run into a lot of problems, like, you know, when you have it, like a lot of parts might start breaking, or they might be right on the edge of breaking when you buy the car. So definitely looking for like a good condition car
Yeah.
if you're going to go that route.
And if it looks good on the outside, always check the inside, and then especially underneath, because especially we're here in New England, and then when there's salts on the road and just the weather conditions and stuff flies everywhere, the underneath of your car can rust a lot quicker than people think. I've seen newer cars that are like 4 or 5 years old, and it's like the frame is almost rusted completely. So people just don't take care of it. So it's like parts of the car can look completely fine, but others can just be terrible. So it's trying to look in certain places. Probably just starting with underneath, I think.
You're right, like definitely different components. Like you said, if the outside looks good, like it's all shiny and that's great. But definitely the most important thing is like your actual engine components and drivetrain, stuff like that, to make sure that it's actually still a solid car. Because obviously, certain small fixes are no big deal, but like obviously if your whole transmission or like your whole engine is gonna fail a couple thousand miles after you buy it, that was obviously just no point in buying that car, and you're gonna end up with a money pit. In terms of like, the approach to finding a car like that, I think there's one of the most important things is that you need to consult multiple sources, right? So you want to look at multiple things like, eBay, Craigslist, your local dealerships, like used car dealerships, like Carvana, even like places like that sell, or at least have like CarMax, places that have lots of used cars, or even if you're not like looking to buy the car from there, you can look and see if they're selling a similar car to compare prices, because that's obviously
price is always
price is important, and comparing prices from different places so you don't get ripped off.
Especially nowadays where car prices can be way above what they're actually worth.
Right.
You can pay upwards of $13,000-$14,000 for a car that 3 or 4 years ago was worth $1. It's kind of ridiculous, especially because certain cars get more popular and then more so they're upped in value. So it's just something to kind of look out for. Also, I was thinking about it on my way here. I was like, his WRX is like one of the perfect dailies. I mean, besides like gas mileage, which who cares about that?
No one cares about gas mileage, right?
Dinosaurs are cool, right? So like it's such a cool car, especially because it's all-wheel drive. It's got 4 doors. It's pretty reliable. I mean, it's a Subaru, so take that. It's a Subaru. But overall, it's like a pretty awesome daily.
That's been like one of the best dailies I could imagine right there, because you obviously have like a little bit of a mix of like fun to drive, but also it's going to start every day, which is all you could ask for. Plus, I drove it all winter, 4-wheel drive, which is just also great.
But
so I think the last thing I'll say about that is, say you finally kind of narrow down your list of things you're looking for, your criteria and stuff. You have compared from multiple places, like we said, like eBay, car dealerships, whatever you prefer. Once you're ready to kind of like pick a car, I think one of the last most important things to do is make sure that there's actual paperwork with that car and in a record, because it is very important to know what the past life of that car has been, and where it's been, and
how many owners?
Yeah, how many owners, who's been driving it, because obviously if a teenager was driving it versus an old person who was going to take it easier on the car, that makes a difference. So. Yeah, I think that kind of covers like the basics of making your list of criteria as 1, 2, searching multiple different places and different industry kind of like websites and stuff to make sure you're getting a fair price, and 3, making sure that once you pick your car, you have a clean record on that car and know the history of it.
So on that note, thank you.